Takrar is made by animating patterns at a certain speed so that they appear static although they are actually in motion. This is like in a moving car when the wheel's rotation frequency matches the camera shutter speed. It can make the wheel appear stationary or spin at a different speed. The seed of this idea can be seen in some scenes from my film City Light and Movement in 2015, and the idea stayed with me since then. After a visit to Istanbul in 2021, I returned with approximately 2,800 photos that I intended to use in the film. There were two main types of patterns that I photographed. The first type is symmetrical patterns, and for this one, only one high-res picture is needed. The second type is a recurring element or pattern but in different locations. For these I needed to photograph each element individually to create a sequence. For the animation I used Photoshop to edit the photos and After Effects for the animation. The first type, symmetrical patterns. The trick is to rotate the image at a specific speed so that the pattern's elements appear on top of each other consecutively. After editing the image in Photoshop, import it to After Effects, create a new composition, set the frame rate to 12 frames per second. After experimenting, I found that this frame rate works best for this kind of animation. Now import the image to the timeline, place the anchor point in the center of the pattern. In the composition, activate the stopwatch on the rotation at frame 0. Now we count the number of elements in the pattern, in this case 12 elements, so we go to frame 12 and we add one full rotation. Of course, if the pattern has 8 elements, then we go to frame 8, and if it has 10 elements, then we go to frame 10, and so on. Finally, add a loop expression to the rotation and preview the result, which is always amazing. The second type is a recurring element, such as columns or status. Import the images into After Effects, insert them into a new comp. Make sure to select single composition and that each image is 1 frame long. Also make sure that the frame rate is 12 and activate sequence layers. Now activate the rulers from view, drag 2 guides so that they cross at an obvious point in the image. For example, between the eyes of the statue. Now move frame by frame and adjust the position, scale and rotation of each picture to match the first one. This technique is time consuming, but once the animation is complete and see the results, it gives you the most satisfying feeling. These are the basic techniques that I used to animate the images I used in Takrar, resulting in approximately 250 videos. And now I wanted to start editing, but I needed music to edit to. Early 2022, I reached out to my friend Alex Story and presented the project to him. This was my second collaboration with Alex. The first one was on Wadi al-Nasara in 2016. We started a long and an interesting journey that lasted for over 8 months.
It was pretty obvious from the moment that Warif approached me with his ideas that we were going to have to come up with something new. I was going to have to sort of reinvent my own personal wheel. And I really loved the challenge of bringing the visual world that Warif was creating to life. So from conversations we'd had listening to Warif's reference tracks, we had a few basic parameters in place. We know that it wanted to have a sort of spatial dimension. He was capturing these big epic spaces. We also knew that we wanted a sort of main sound which would kind of bring us through the track. So the first thing I did was just got onto my synth and started coming up with that main melody. And that is a melody that you, in the final version, hear emerging slowly in the first section before blossoming into something quite arpeggiated and playful for that middle section before sort of exploding into the epic last sprint of the last section. At that point, I'd been working to just some very basic drum sounds, and I knew that there was something massive missing from the track.
At the same time as we were looking for a percussionist, I was shooting a music video with the band Halva. I talked to the percussionist Robbie Keekins about the project, and he agreed to participate. Robert
was really receptive, and he just instantly vibed with our ideas. And within one day, he'd done some recordings in his own studio and he sent over the tracks. And as soon as I put them in, everything just exploded. It was the missing puzzle piece. Everything just blasted to life. Really gave us a green light to just sprint to the end and finish all the final details and get the whole journey wrapped up into what eventually became Takrar.
The process of working on Takrar lasted for almost 2 years, with breaks. I'm very happy with the results we achieved, and I am extremely grateful for your support and the recognition the film has received online.